everyone. This is Shri, and I am so thrilled to be moderating this all-women cybersecurity panel today and to introduce these two power women, Nicole and Sonal. Sonal, let's start with you today. In addition to being the team lead for GCP SecOps at Uber, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here today. I am a firm believer in continuously learning, trying out new things, and having a growth mindset, basically saying, I don't know something yet. To that end, I started learning classical piano 3 years ago, having never played an instrument before. And I'm so proud to say I'm able to play Chopin waltz. And it's a easier pieces, but still it's a huge achievement for me. So to say anything is possible. With that, I'm very excited to be here today with fellow panelist Nicole, who leads cloud platform at Target. Nicole, can you take a moment to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Nicole, and as Sonal said, I lead cloud platform at Target. Outside of that, I am currently in a 200-hour yoga teacher training. I'm really trying to focus on mindfulness and being present in the moment and taking space for myself and being selfish with my time so I can really look inwardly and figure out what I need to do to better myself from not just the physicality of yoga, but the mindfulness and the spiritualness as well. Shri, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself outside of Google?
So first and foremost, you both are amazing women. I can't play the piano to save my life. And I do yoga. I also do meditation. So with you on that, Nicole. And I'm just thinking and trying to do the calculation in my brain. I do maybe like about half hour, 3 days a week of yoga. And if I had to do 200 hours of teacher training, that might be like for 4 years, I think. So anyway, Nicole, let's start with you this time. Target seems to be at the bleeding edge of container security, and you're working on a lot of things around runtime container security versus just build time container security, which is what a lot of our customers are still grappling with. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you got here?
Yeah, so for Target, we started in Google Cloud about 6 years ago. We migrated from another cloud provider and we deployed into a wholly GCE environment. So it was a flat project. And looking at that, we needed to have a way to validate our builds all the way through to runtime. And so what we came up was the concept of pipeline integrity. And what we did was we were able to track and trace a hash from build, deploy, throughout the entire pipeline into runtime and read in those hashes to confirm that they match throughout the entire pipeline. And we would take these hashes and do a match on deploy. And if there was a build mismatch or if the hash just got corrupted for some reason, we would prevent that from being able to be deployed in our environment. And we do run these checks frequently to ensure that there is no deviations from those individual builds. We'll also look at timestamps for these workloads in our environment. And if an image is around for longer than 90 days, we will ask teams to redeploy proactively, to pull in security updates, to pull in platform updates, to ensure that the components that are running within the workload are as up to date as possible and meeting our individual security requirements for remediating of vulnerabilities or any sort of hygiene that we need to take care of. So that concept is what we're really trying to get moved forward into our GKE environment, which is our newer environment, a shared VPC environment that is much more mature than our single flat project, which we call our classic environment. And so we really want to take these different controls that we have in our lower environments and move them into our higher security environment. So things that need a little bit more stringent security and compliance controls, and really moving that needle further into the container realm from our VM implementation. And so we really want to take the containers and be able to further isolate and segment these individual workloads throughout their life cycle.
That is wonderful. I am sure there are teams at Target that are dedicated to selling bananas and socks. And I wonder how you get them motivated and engaged in all the security work that you're doing.
Yes, we definitely found that push for these findings, vulnerabilities, and requirements is a lot easier than pull. Having teams go out to a single dashboard on their own volition wasn't proving to be very conducive to getting teams to actually do these updates. So we were able to push these alerts to teams throughout their preferred communication method. So basically subscribing to the individual alerts themselves, whether that's Slack, email, or our alerting system. So we really wanted to meet the engineering and development teams where they work and not have them struggle to get where they needed to go. We also have the concept of a security score, and those are tied into OKRs. So are teams doing their pen tests regularly? Are they remediating their vulnerabilities within the remediation timeframe? Are they engaging with security when they need to be? And so all of that aggregates into an individual score that is reported back up through leadership. And an added benefit from all of this, from pipeline integrity to the security score to implementing our security controls into our GKE environment, all give us a benefit from the tagging, the labeling, and the stamping, so that we have a good inventory of our cloud-based workloads, from component to attribution and ownership for the individual application teams as well.
Nicole, it's very interesting you say that, because at Uber, we also believe that we should let builders build, and we want to know what is the cloud footprint and have adequate guardrails in place. To that end, our leadership is fully engaged in communication with the partner teams. We have a shared responsibility model. Again, we try to have the dashboards and metrics, and we emphasize on the severities of the vulnerabilities to fix. We try to give relevant, accurate, and actionable information that can lead to better fix the vulnerabilities. And it has led to a lot of successful closure of vulnerabilities. Talking about container security, right now, our emphasis is on image vulnerabilities. We have selected GCP container analysis as our product of choice. GCP container analysis gives us an in-depth view about the vulnerabilities that are occurring in an image, which package, which version, the CVSS scores. All this helps us put this information in a Jira or a T3 ticket that the engineering team is comfortable with for them to action on.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to hear about the dashboards, but also the credit score. Like, that was amazing that you have like an OKR as well as a credit score for every team, Nicole. Sonal, I know Uber has made tremendous progress with least privilege for all of your machine identities. It's a very tough problem, and you actually seem to have it all automated at this point of time. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. So till date, we are able to reduce 5 million access permissions granted in our GCP environment. So to give you a little bit of background, we do have an automated way to provision resources in GCP, and the access permissions are strictly controlled. But we do have a lot of legacy GCP projects which had this problem of access permission. So we decided to use GCP IAM Recommender, and we built an application around it that is serverless, scalable, and extensible, and runs fully in GCP. So to operationalize IAM Recommender, what we do is we get information from Recommender and create Jira and T3 tickets again for our engineering teams, giving all the information on how they can fix it. And we've had a lot of success with it. The application is running in maintenance mode right now.
Yeah, we've also been using Active Assist IAM Recommender and really working on paring down our service account roles and permission grants. As I mentioned, we have a very large classic flat project that was started about 6 years ago when conditions and curated roles were not in existence. So we had the option of primitive roles, which was owner, editor, and viewer. And those were very, very highly privileged roles. And that was not very conducive to locking down an environment for least privilege. You could either have all or nothing. And so looking at moving that environment into a more least privilege model, we've been using Active Assist's policy intelligence suite. So looking at simulator and troubleshooter to ensure that as we're pulling these permissions back, we are not going to negatively impact the business. We have to be able to sell socks and bananas. So looking to Google's intelligence suite to really give us this rich data to create a mitigation plan, basically, and de-scoping these permissions to a point where we feel confident in our environment. One of the things that we're kind of looking at now is our Terraform service accounts, which are instantiation accounts. We're creating new services, we're creating new environments, platforms, projects, and folders. They need higher privilege. So we kind of want to look at using conditions to create a model where these accounts are only getting the role grants when they need them. So looking at the factors that go into this, when are we going to be building projects? It's few and far between. So these accounts really shouldn't be having these highly privileged roles all the time. One of the other things we're looking at is lateral movement in our environment. While we may need some service accounts to cross that project or folder hierarchy boundary, we don't need all of our service accounts to be able to do that. And we want to ensure that it's only happening where it makes sense. So for VPC service controls, being able to read in a network from the host projects. And we really want to ensure that we are paring down the environment in a way that makes sense, and that these lateral movement accounts are only occurring where it makes sense. And we really want to work with the service to identify and remediate any unnecessary overlap across our hierarchy.
Yeah, so it has been great fun to geek out with both of you. And I'm still kicking myself about being in this all-women panel. I'm curious, Nicole, have you been in one? How does it feel to be here? And how does it feel to be a woman in this field?
Yeah, so I have been in one all-women panel before. It was an infrastructure panel for Target. And it was a lot of fun, but it was also super stressful. Forgot all my lines. It was nerve-wracking. But I did feel a sense of community, and everyone on the panel was also trying to help me get back up, messaging me behind the scenes, letting me know that it was okay. And that was something that I haven't really experienced on a panel before. And from a team perspective, at Target, at other companies I've worked at, I have been on teams where it's an all-women team. I've been on a team where I am just the only woman. My current team, it's a pretty even split, but there are more women than men. And I've seen kind of the dichotomy that comes from these different structures. And one of the things that I look at as I'm thinking about being a woman in tech and a woman in security is, how do I make sure that the next generation is afforded the same opportunities and services and privileges that I got? I want to be able to assist anyone to have the same experience that I did to get where I am today. And so it's really about sending the elevator back down and ensuring that I'm paying it forward. Sonal, I am curious about your experience here as well.
Yeah, and Nicole, agree with everything you said so far. It is really encouraging that there are leaders, women leaders like you around to help other people who are coming behind you. I, for one, I try to focus on the problem to solve. I don't approach it from a gender perspective. That being said, at Uber, we do have a diverse team, and I can see how we hold each other accountable and we are growing and learning at the same time. I would also like to emphasize to anybody listening to this talk is to be a lifelong learner. Try out new skills. If you wanted to learn something, now is the right time. Get out of your comfort zone. Nothing grows there. Take risk. You might fail, but hey, you will learn, you will grow, you will get better. I cannot emphasize enough that you need to keep learning and need to keep investing in yourself continuously.
Sonal, I just loved your growth mindset. And I wanted to say at Google, we believe very strongly that diversity is important in our security teams. And one of the reasons that we feel that is our adversaries come from diverse backgrounds and they think in different ways. And if we don't reflect how they're thinking, we're not going to be able to adequately secure Google as a company, as well as all the customers who rely on our software. And so one of the things that we recently did, and there's a link to this in the session resources, we launched a blog called Security Voices, which celebrates all of the amazing stories of Googlers from different backgrounds who work on security in one way or the other. So I hope you will all check it out and give a shout out to all the amazing people and the stories featured there. And thank you again, Nicole and Sonal, for being so generous with your time and your expertise. And it has been an amazing session. I've learned so much, both from the prep and here, and it's been fun to geek out. It's been fun to talk about our different passions and like even weightlifting. And I am thrilled. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.